for these unsung heroes to be recognized and have their stories told, to pivot a wave of inspiration across Jamaica and the diaspora. Since 2006, nearly 50 Jamaicans have received these prestigious awards in the diaspora regions of the United States of America, Canada, and the United Kingdom. It is traditional that I personally present these awards to the selected recipients during our Diaspora Week of activities. I thank the High Commissioners and Ambassador who will deputize for me this year in making the presentation of awards to recipients in the respective regions. Today, we pay special tribute to these recipients for their dedicated service, many of whom have been on the front line during the COVID-19 pandemic. Congratulations on your award, and I hope that you will use this platform to strengthen your service. I encourage you to be guided by the words of our national pledge as you continue to stand up for justice, brotherhood, and peace, working diligently and creatively, thinking generously and honestly, so that Jamaica under God will increase in beauty, fellowship, and prosperity, and do her part in advancing the welfare of the whole human race. Thank you, and God bless you all.
We thank His Excellency for his remarks and charge to this year's awardees. The GGPE was created to add cohesiveness to the overall management of the I Believe initiative and the Governor General's Achievement Awards, GGAA. This year is very important as the program celebrates a combined 30 years of excellence. I invite you to join in this celebration as we will be posting live on social media. You can tag us in your social media posts at the GGPE on Twitter and Instagram. And remember, use the hashtag GGAAD2021. We now welcome the GGPE's National Coordinator, Mr. Abraham Simmons, with his address.
I would like to extend my heartiest congratulations to this year's awardees of the Governor General's Diaspora Achievement Awards. As National Coordinator of the Governor General's Program for Excellence, it gives me great pleasure to welcome you into a growing network of inspiring changemakers spread across Jamaica and the world. This year, our program celebrates 30 excellence, and today's presentation is just one of a few activities we have in the pipeline to celebrate this incredible milestone. By virtue of your award, you have become an extended member of our GGPE family, but opportunity to introduce you to the I Believe initiative, a program that focuses on using what is right with Jamaica to fix what is wrong with Jamaica. We continue to use this platform to mobilize resources for areas of family, youth, and educational development. You can always visit our website at ggpe.org.jm to learn more about this initiative and ways you can contribute to this much-needed program. I would like to thank and highlight our major sponsors, the Jamaica National Group, the Victoria Mutual Group, the Gleaner Company Media Limited, Flow, and the Jamaica Broilers Group. Their kind and persistent contributions have allowed us to present these awards for more than 30 years. As we recognize the awardees in today's program, I want to reflect on the words of one of the awardees from Canada, Mr. Dave Dioen, who said, "Excellence means knowing there is better and striving for it, aiming for the ceiling and breaking through it. If the ceiling should be raised, we will rise to the occasion." I hope that you enjoyed today's proceedings.
Thank you, Mr. Simmons. Now, remember to tag us in your social media posts at the GGPE on Twitter and Instagram and use the hashtag GGAAD2021. Let us now proceed to the presentation of awards for the GGAA Diaspora 2021. The awards will be presented on behalf of His Excellency, the Governor General by the Jamaica High Commissioners to the United Kingdom and Canada, and the Jamaican Ambassador to the United States of America.
We will first present the awardees living in the United Kingdom. The 2021 Governor General's Diaspora Achievement Award is presented to Mr. Amani Simpson in the United Kingdom for the under 35 age group. Mr. Amani Simpson inherited and exemplifies the resilience and the determination of the Jamaican people. He is an award-winning creative director, entrepreneur, and youth coach who uses his unique and inspiring story to reach audiences who are often underserved youth. In 2011, Mr. Simpson was stabbed 7 times, a near-death experience that changed his life completely and gave rise to his advocacy and renewed sense of faith and spirituality. He produced a short film in 2019 called Amani to share this experience, which has since received almost 4 million views on YouTube, propelling his work as a youth speaker across the United Kingdom. His partnership with the Mayor of London on an anti-crime campaign and his undeniable creativity has made him an influencer. In 2020, he used this leverage to spread hope and encouragement through an online campaign called Our Lockdown, designed to support young people affected by difficult circumstances, further heightened by the COVID-19 pandemic. Many speak of Mr. Simpson's humility and his unwavering willingness to reach and guide young people. His story of triumph over adversity is an echo in the bones of those with similar experiences and a guiding light for those most vulnerable. It is with great pleasure that we present Bishop Llewellyn Graham with the 2021 Governor General's Diaspora Achievement Award for the over 35 age group in the United Kingdom. Bishop Llewellyn Graham is a renowned religious leader, social entrepreneur, public servant, and a son of Somerset District in St. Thomas, Jamaica. He completed a bachelor's degree at the Middlesex University in 1985 and later master's degrees at the University of Wolverhampton in 2000 and Birmingham University in 2013. He has led the Church of God of Prophecy Jubilee Christian Center for over 23 years. At the prime of his career, Bishop coordinated a range of social care services to residents of Wolverhampton in the West Midlands, England. His passion and dedicated service are admired by many and well represented through his years of work within the African Caribbean community in the United Kingdom.
As God as it shall live.
Listening there to another of the Governor General's Diaspora awardees, Bishop Llewellyn Graham. That introduction. After the break, we'll continue our coverage of the Governor General's Diaspora Awards on this Diaspora Day 2021.
You're listening to Power 106 FM. The time is now
2:30. No food is worth your life, no matter how good it look or how good it tastes. If you have trees growing near a JPS power line, do not pick the fruits. Why? Because whatever you're using to pick the fruit can get caught in the line and you can get shocked and electrocuted. Plus, just being that close to the line can cause you danger. It's just not worth it. It's much safer to pick fruits from trees that are not close to the JPS power lines. Stay safe. Protect life and property. For assistance, call JPS at 888-225-5577. JPS, powering what matters.
Let my heart be silent.
Let's reconnect to the live feed on this Diaspora Day here in Jamaica and across the globe. Bishop Llewellyn Graham having just been recognized. Let's hear from His Excellency Seth George Ramacon, Jamaica's High Commissioner to the United Kingdom.
Congratulations to Bishop Llewellyn Graham and Mr. Amani Simpson, the UK's 2021 recipients of the Governor General's Jamaica Diaspora Award for Excellence. This award, which was created in 2008, is presented to recognize and to show appreciation for Jamaicans and persons of Jamaican heritage in the diaspora who have positively contributed to the development of their communities. In this time of a global pandemic, it is right and fitting that this year the awards have a special focus on members of the diaspora who work on the front line in combating the repercussions of COVID-19. Both recipients are outstanding representatives of the Jamaican UK community. Without a doubt, today marks a proud moment, not only for the recipients, but for the entire Jamaican community here in the United Kingdom. And it is my hope that the high mark you have set will go on to greater heights as you rise to conquer the next challenge. I am therefore proud to present these awards to the recipients on behalf of His Excellency, the Governor General of Jamaica.
Thank you, Your Excellency, for your remarks. We will now present the awardees living in Canada. The 2021 Governor General's Diaspora Achievement Award is presented to Mr. Dave Doyen for the under 35 age group. Mr. Dave Doyen, a human rights advocate and youth leader, and son of St. Catherine, credits his humble beginnings for shaping who he has become. He has a passion for driving positive systemic change from his home country of Jamaica to Canada, where he pursued post-secondary studies at McGill University. Here, he was a member of the Joint Board Senate Subcommittee on Race and Ethnic Relations and the Joint Board Senate Subcommittee on Persons with Disabilities. He is currently a leading social justice fellow at the University of Toronto. His work in recent years is built on a commitment to advancing change with and for those most in need, evidenced by his volunteering with various institutions and groups such as the Children's Aid Society of Toronto and the Refugee Jobs Agenda Roundtable. Notably, Mr. Doyen was a member of Toronto's Police and Community Engagement Review Advisory Committee, which was tasked with implementing recommendations to improve the delivery of bias-free policing. In light of the COVID-19 pandemic, Mr. Doyen organized and hosted a discussion with the first Deputy Medical Officer of Health for the City of Toronto to engage with the Black community, considering that the Black community is disproportionately affected. He is a leader of high integrity and special personal character and embraces a mindset that is open to growth. These qualities make him a stalwart among his peers and a beacon of inspiration in Jamaica. The 2021 Governor General's Diaspora Achievement Award is presented to Dr. Sylvanus Thompson for the over 35 age group. Dr. Sylvanus Thompson is a fellow of the Canadian Health Service Research Foundation and a prolific public health expert who has made evidence-based approaches a central theme of his career. He was educated at the West Indies School of Public Health in Jamaica in 1976, and later the Ryerson University, University of Guelph, and finally, the University of Berkeley, where he completed his Doctor of Philosophy in Public Health Administration in 2004. He is now the Chief Executive Officer of Dr. T Food Safety Consulting Services and continues to serve the Jamaican community in Canada as an active member of the Jamaican Canadian Association. Adept at implementation, science, and research, Dr. Thompson has played a leading role in the design and rollout of several programs across the world that focus on overall public health, food safety, and quality assurance practices. Even after moving to Canada, he remained committed to building the resilience of the public health response in Jamaica. He played a pivotal role in mobilizing resources and technical assistance in Jamaica's fight against the chikungunya virus, Zika virus, and hand, foot, and mouth disease outbreaks. More recently, Dr. Thompson was actively involved in several COVID-19 related research studies and outreach programs that provided tailored support to Canadian Jamaicans and broader cohorts of African Canadians who were disproportionately affected by the pandemic. Through his efforts, infrared thermometers were donated to the Ministry of Health for routine monitoring of passengers on arrival at the major airports in Jamaica. Dr. Thompson has received numerous awards, including Environmental Health Foundation of Canada Award for Outstanding Contribution to Food Safety, at the Canadian African Unsung Heroes Award for groundbreaking contribution to public health. Congratulations! And now we welcome Her Excellency Sharon J. Miller, High Commissioner for Jamaica to Canada, with her remarks.
It is my pleasure to participate in this award ceremony, and I must commend their excellencies and the team at King's House for ensuring that despite the impact of the COVID-19 pandemic, recognition of excellence in our daily interaction is even prominent. Over the years, it is clear to see that for many members of the Jamaican diaspora, absence from home has truly allowed the heart to grow fonder. While distinguishing themselves in many fields of endeavors, they have given this small but mighty nation an oversized footprint on the global stage. Importantly, they have contributed significantly to the growth and development of their homeland, in addition to that of their adopted country. Members of our diaspora have demonstrated over time also the importance, relevance, and timeliness of the theme for this year's encounter, Jamaica and the diaspora, stronger together for a sustainable future. I extend heartiest congratulations to the recipients of the Governor General's Awards for Excellence. Considering the disruptions caused by the COVID-19 pandemic, the toll it has taken on our lives, the increased demands on frontline workers, it is fitting that they are the focus of this year's awards. I am pleased that the recognition given to two outstanding diaspora members from Canada who have shown their commitment to advancing the welfare of others. Dr. Sylvanus Thompson and Mr. Dave Duyen have used effectively their platforms and are examples to be followed. I look forward to presenting the awards on behalf of His Excellency, the Governor General of Jamaica. I commend them for their selflessness and wish for them enough success in their future endeavors. Continue to be a beacon for succeeding generations.
Thank you, Your Excellency. Ladies and gentlemen, we now proceed to the awardees living in the United States of America. The 2021 Governor General's Diaspora Achievement Award is presented to Ms. Cassandra Campbell for the under 35 age group. Ms. Cassandra Campbell demonstrates what her peers describe as an unfounded enthusiasm to support initiatives that invariably lead her back to her roots in Jamaica. In the different spaces she imbues, she displays unbelievable passion in supporting Jamaica and by extension the Caribbean through leveraging the resources available to her via renowned partners in the United States such as Facebook, where she's now a program manager. Ms. Campbell is a proud graduate of Virginia State University and boasts both a master's and bachelor's degree in economics. Her intellect, creativity, and impeccable professionalism have afforded her an extensive track record in branding and campaign management, which also saw her working in the prestigious White House during President Obama's tenure. Ms. Campbell is always eager to face new challenges as she supports community building through social media. She makes it her mission to boost awareness by providing tricks and tips on how best to leverage these platforms to achieve personal and professional growth. In the midst of the COVID-19 pandemic, during summer 2020, Ms. Campbell led Facebook's first Messenger bootcamp and hackathon and advocated for the company's ongoing online hackathon series to be sponsored in Jamaica and the Caribbean. Her desire to improve the region's economic outcomes has helped computer science students in Kingston, giving them greater exposure to Facebook's technology, programming, and resources. Additionally, she has worked intimately in bringing to life several projects, including a technology bootcamp for Jamaican university students, a marketing webinar for Jamaican-owned small businesses in Atlanta, coupled with the unrelenting support she gave to the technology startup ecosystem in Jamaica. The 2021 Governor General's Diaspora Achievement Award is presented to Dr. Trudy Hall for the over 35 age group. Dr. Trudy Hall is a clinician who embodies a love for humanity, mirrored in the care she affords to the patients she meets in her medical practice. With over 20 years' experience, Dr. Hall boasts a track record of impeccable service to healthcare in the United States, where she dons many leadership roles and medical directorships. She has an affinity for public health promotion and a thrust for policy development, affording her a platform to address disparities in healthcare. In 1991, she was conferred Doctor of Medicine from the Robert Wood Johnson Medical School of the University of Medicine and Dentistry of New Jersey. Since then, she has provided service to her community in her demanding and coveted roles as Chief Resident in Physical Medicine and Rehabilitation at the JFK Johnson Rehabilitation Institute in Edison, New Jersey, Commissioner of the Health Services and Cost Review Commission, President of Maryland State National Medical Association, Vice President of Medical Affairs and Interim President for Laurel Regional Hospital, as well as Chief Medical Officer for University of Maryland Medical System's Chronic Care and Rehabilitation Hospital. Recently, in response to the surge of cases arising from the COVID-19 pandemic, Dr. Hall became responsible for the 145-bed COVID alternative care site for the state of Maryland, where she also caters to the behavioral health needs of COVID-positive patients. This has positioned her as a well-sought-out speaker for mentorship programs, numerous healthcare topics, and COVID-19 pandemic education. As we congratulate the awardees from the United States, let us welcome Her Excellency Audrey Marks, Ambassador of Jamaica to the United States of America, with her remarks.
Good afternoon. I'm delighted to join you on this special occasion to pay tribute to some of our outstanding members of the Jamaican diaspora who have made remarkable contributions in their respective fields of endeavor, in their communities here in the United States, and more importantly, to various sectors of Jamaica's development. The fact that many of you have not severed ties with your homeland and continue to devote your time and energy to your fellow citizens, notwithstanding the distance and time away from the land of your birth or heritage, always evokes pride in me. On behalf of the government and people of Jamaica, I take this opportunity to convey heartfelt appreciation for your unwavering support for our national development efforts. I'm pleased to note that these two awardees from the United States, Dr. Trudy Hall and Ms. Cassandra Campbell, represent thousands of Jamaicans who are essentially unsung heroes, giving sacrificially of their time, energy, and resources towards the betterment of the lives of others at home and abroad. It therefore gives me great pleasure to congratulate Dr. Hall and Ms. Campbell, who are being bestowed the prestigious Governor General's Diaspora Award for Excellence. Congratulations.
Her Excellency Ambassador Audrey Marks, Jamaica's ambassador to the United States, making her remarks after having participated in and heard the announcements of the Governor General's Achievement Awardees out of the United States. There's more after the break.
Oh, green and lovely evenings, Jamaica strong and free. All proud and loyal.
You're listening to Power 106 FM. The time is now
2:45.
Contractors and developers, Coast to Coast Quarries is having a 10% sale on all size stones. Coast to Coast Concrete has relocated to 5 Lady Musgrave Road and has opened a new plant at Somerset in Mandeville. So for all your concrete needs, including blocks and mild dust, look no further. Coast to Coast Group of Companies, expanding to serve you better. Call 876-706-3230, 876-754-7472, and 876-904-555527.
See, you know, the real lockdown just a start for 30 days straight. Lockdown at Suzuki. The lowest prices on 2020 Suzukis in stock. Plus, every 2021 model pay no monthly payments but 3 months with Simpson Finance. Lock down your Suzuki for as low as $2.9 million. And check out all our Suzukis made for all roads in life. Like the Desire, Ciaz, Vitara, Baleno, Chimney, XL7, and Carry pickups. All with free service, Amber Tracker, premium tint, and 5 years warranty. It's lockdown time only at Suzuki. Visit us online at Suzuki Jamaica or our showrooms at South Camp Road, Kingston, and Iron Sherma Bay. Conditions apply.
Class is in session on Hits 92 FM and Power 106 FM. Join Hits 92 FM from Monday to Friday, 11 a.m. to 1 p.m. and Power 106 FM on Saturdays from 9 a.m. to 1 p.m. for class time. Fun, interactive, educational content for students from the early childhood to secondary level. We take you to school on a wide range of subjects, including language arts, literacy, mathematics, civics, religious education, and others, all from the comfort of your home. Class time on Hits 92 FM and Power 106 FM is brought to you in partnership with the Ministry of Education, Youth, and Information.
Daniel Brown and Stephen Shaw Nair are combining their talents to jointly give us their interpretation of I Saw My Land in the Morning, part of the Governor General's Awards for Excellence for members of the Jamaican diaspora. Let's listen.
Ladies and gentlemen, in these challenging times, we remain very appreciative of the sacrifices and demonstrated generosity of the diaspora in supporting Jamaicans at home and abroad. It was our absolute pleasure spending time with you. You've been great company. Hopefully, when next we meet, we'll be able to celebrate together this legacy of excellence. Let us continue the celebration on social media using the hashtag GGAAD2021 and tag us at the GGPE. We thank you for joining us for the presentation of awards for the 2021 GGAA Diaspora Awards for Excellence. I'm Brittany Brown. Keep safe and take care.
Power 106 FM has just presented the Governor General's Diaspora Achievement Awards for Excellence, part of Diaspora Day celebrations. This is Diaspora Day 2021. Coming up at 3 o'clock, the Prime Minister's Town Hall, an opportunity for members of the diaspora to ask questions of the Prime Minister. And we look forward to carrying that live as well. All a part of this Jamaica Diaspora Day celebration. The Ministry of Foreign Affairs and Foreign Trade earlier on hosted a virtual Jamaica Diaspora Sustainability Symposium under the theme Jamaica and the Diaspora Stronger Together for a Sustainable Future. And we've just witnessed the Governor General's Diaspora Awards for Excellence presentations. And as we said, coming up, the Prime Ministerial Town Hall meeting. Until then, let's properly introduce today's edition of your program, Both Sides of the Story, here on Power 106 FM. And we will begin by reciting the national pledge, a good time for us to renew our commitment to Jamaica, land we love, whether we live here at home or abroad. Before God and all mankind, I pledge the love and loyalty of my heart, the wisdom and courage of my mind, the strength and vigor of my body, in the service of my fellow citizens. I promise to stand up for justice, brotherhood, and peace, to work diligently and creatively, to think generously and honestly, so that Jamaica may, under God, increase in beauty, fellowship, and prosperity, and play her part in advancing the welfare of the whole human race.
I pledge my heart forever to serve with humble pride. With shining home and ever, so long as earth and mine. I pledge my heart with silence as Lord, and it shall live. My heart, my strength,
2021 to 2030 is the International Decade of Healthy Aging, the International Decade of Ecosystem Restoration, the International Decade of Ocean Science for Sustainable Development, and the Decade of Action for Road Safety. It's the 16th day of the 6th month of 2021, the International Year of Peace and Trust, the International Year of Creative Economy for Sustainable Development, the International Year of Fruits and Vegetables, the International Year for the Elimination of Child Labor, and the International Year of Health and Care Workers. Put another way, it's the 16th day of the first month of the 2021 Atlantic hurricane season in this Disaster Risk Reduction Month, Road Safety Awareness Month, Brides Month, and Pride Month. It's National Immigrant Heritage Month in the USA. Members of the Caribbean diaspora in America are celebrating National Caribbean American Heritage Month and Caribbean Cuisine Month. Still in the United States, June is being observed as Alzheimer's and Brain Awareness Month, Cataract Awareness Month, Myasthenia Gravis Awareness Month, Aphasia Awareness Month, Congenital Cytomegalovirus Awareness Month, Migraine and Headache Awareness Month, National Safety Month, Scleroderma Awareness Month, Post-Traumatic Stress Disorder, PTSD Awareness Month, Scoliosis Awareness Month, and Men's Health Month. In fact, this week is International Men's Health Week. This week is Diaspora Week. In Pakistan, it's Chelam. Well, Chelam is being celebrated in Pakistan. It's Youth Day in South Africa and Bloom's Day in Ireland. It's International Day of the African Child and International Day of Family Remittances. It's Jamaica Diaspora Day. Hoy es miércoles, el 16 de junio 2021. Y les saludamos en cualquier parte del mundo que nos están escuchando en este momento. Estamos muy agradecidos por el don de la vida y el privilegio de servirles en otra edición de su programa Both Sides of the Story, ambos lados de la historia. Nunca vamos a tomar su audiencia por sentado porque sabemos que ustedes tienen otras opciones y esta es la razón por la cual jamás olvidamos darle las gracias por elegir Both Sides of the Story, ambos lados de la historia, de lunes a viernes desde las 2 hasta las 5 de la tarde, aquí en Power 106 FM. La misión continúa para educar, capacitar, iluminar y estimular el espíritu empresarial. Bienvenidos. C'est mercredi le 16 juin 2021 et nous vous saluons tous que nous écoutez où que vous soyez dans le monde. Nous sommes reconnaissants du don de la vie ainsi que du privilège d'être votre service pour une nouvelle édition de votre programme Both Sides of the Story, le pour et le contre. Nous ne considérons pas votre fidélité comme à l'un de soi parce que nous savons que vous avez l'embarras du choix. C'est pourquoi nous n'oublions jamais de vous remercier de choisir d'écouter Both Sides of the Story, le pour et le contre, du lundi au vendredi de 2h à 5h de l'après-midi sur notre antenne Power 106 FM. Nous continuons notre mission d'éduquer, d'habiliter, d'éclairer et d'encourager l'esprit d'entreprise. Bienvenue! All we're saying is it's Wednesday, the 16th of June, 2021, and we greet you well wherever in the world you are listening to us right now. We remain eternally grateful for the gift of life and the privilege to serve you on yet another edition of your program, Both Sides of the Story. We don't ever take your listenership for granted because we know you have choices, and that's why we never ever forget to remember to say thanks for choosing to listen to Both Sides of the Story, Monday to Friday, 2 to 5, right here on Power 106 FM. The mission continues to educate, empower, enlighten, and encourage entrepreneurship. Welcome. It is Jamaica Diaspora Day 2021. The theme, Jamaica and the Diaspora, Stronger Together for a Sustainable Future. It's a Diaspora Sustainability Symposium was held earlier on, and there's another component of that Diaspora Sustainability Symposium that takes place tomorrow and will feature the young people, the members of the Global Jamaica Youth Diaspora Council and members of the youth population across the diaspora. You can listen out for that. In the meantime, we're going to a break now on both sides of the story. When we come back, it will be time to join the live feed of the Global Jamaica Diaspora Town Hall. That's what will be happening. The Prime Ministerial Town Hall comes up in a matter of seconds. Stand by.
My loyalty to give. Oh, bring out the evenings, shall make us strong and free. Our vows and loyal promises, wars and tears to me.
The time by Medical Disposables and Supplies Limited, an official distributor of 3M Healthcare Solutions, 83 Hagley Park Road, Kingston 10, is 3 p.m.
June 20 is Father's Day, and Bashko has some great gift ideas for the dads in your life.
Like coffee mugs and insulated travel mugs for the dad who loves his morning beverage.
Picture frames for the perfect memories, luggage for that upcoming family trip, and even smart TVs for that perfect man cave experience.
Or why not come in and make your own gift basket for dad from our wide selection of personal care items as well as alcoholic or non-alcoholic wines.
There are so many options to help you make this Father's Day extra special. At Bashko, at 30 years, giving you more.
I pledge my heart is silent as long as it shall live. My word, my strength, my love, and my loyalty to give. Oh, bring I love the evenings, shall make us strong and free. Our vows and loyal promises, wars and tears to be. I pledge my heart is silent as God as it shall live. My birth, my strength, my love, and my loyalty to give. Oh, green, I love the evenings, shall make us strong and free. All vows and loyal promises, words and deeds to thee. I pledge my heart forever to serve with humble pride. It shall give hope and ever, so long as earth and mine. I pledge my heart is silent as long as it shall live. My word, my strength, my love, and my loyalty to give. Oh, bring I love the evenings, shall make us strong and free. Our vows and loyal promises, words and tears to be.
Thanks a lot for staying with us here on your program, Both Sides of the Story, Power 106 FM, still streaming live on the Cleaners website, go-jamaica.com. Good afternoon to those of you listening to us on 106.1, 106.3, 106.5, 106.7, and 106.9. From Moran Point to Negril Point, from the Goat Islands to Galena Point. This is Power 106 FM, serving Jamaica and the diaspora. Hello to those tuned in via the Power 106 FM app, which you would have downloaded from the App Store or the Google Play Store, depending on the nature of your device. Downloading is free, listening is free, whenever, wherever. We welcome those watching on Facebook Live on the Dervan Malcolm Facebook page and affiliated pages. If you're not there yet, log on to Facebook. In the search box atop the page, type DERVAN MALCOLM, and you'll be able to watch both sides of the story. If you don't have a Facebook account, there's always YouTube, youtube.com, and you're good to go. You should see this video trending if you're checking now. If not, in the YouTube search box, type DERVAN MALCOLM, and you'll be able to watch both sides of the story on YouTube. It's Diaspora Day 2021, and in the absence of the 9th Biennial Jamaica Diaspora Conference, which was scheduled for around this time, the Ministry of Foreign Affairs and Foreign Trade, in partnership with the Global Jamaica Diaspora Council and the Global Jamaica Diaspora Youth Council, with support from Grace Kennedy, Jamaica National, Victoria Mutual, J. Ray and Nephew, and PIOJ, the Planning Institute of Jamaica, organized a virtual Jamaica Diaspora Sustainability Symposium. Day one of the symposium ended at exactly 2:15 this afternoon, Jamaica time. And day two will not be a full day, it will be a shortened day when the young people, the youth diaspora, will be engaged and will themselves be engaging the rest of us. The Youth Forum starts at 9 o'clock tomorrow morning and will go until 10 minutes past 11 o'clock. And this is Jamaica time. And we will be streaming, as we are doing right now, all the events having to do with the Global Jamaica Diaspora Day celebrations, the virtual Jamaica Diaspora Sustainability Symposium. And you got, if you were following on our Facebook pages, then you would have seen and heard all those sessions, those plenary sessions, plenary, pronounced plenary, as opposed to plenary. It's plenary, which essentially speaks to something that is, well, it's a meeting essentially that is attended by the participants. It could be at a conference, an assembly, or who would otherwise meet in smaller groups. Right, so that's the idea. It's a meeting or a session attended by all participants at a conference or assembly. Also, working parties would then report to the plenary with recommendations. That's a significance of that word, plenary, plenary. And as we were saying, there were a few plenary sessions today, and the third one, you would have caught a bit of it towards the end, at the start of both sides of the story. And that looked at creating effective partnerships to maximize the human and professional capital of the diaspora for sustainable development. Let's say hi to those of you who have been online watching as we stand by for the Prime Ministerial Town Hall, where members of the Jamaican diaspora on this Jamaica Diaspora Day will have opportunities to ask questions of the Prime Minister. Faye Weller says, good afternoon, Mr. Dervan and listeners. Blessed love, everyone. To you too, Faye Weller. Jennifer Stewart from Q Road in Kencott says, good afternoon, Sir Dervan. Please say hi to Mrs. Sybil Thompson for me. We just did. Hello, Mrs. Sybil Thompson. How are you? Don Marie Smith, good afternoon to you too. Juan Antonio Martinez Harlobo. Muy buenas tardes, señor Juan Antonio Martinez Harlobo. Bless you from Cuba, he says. Good to have you on board, mi amigo de Cuba. Norman Hines says, good afternoon, Mr. Dervan, Malcolm, and listeners. Good afternoon, Norman Hines. Inez Campbell Brown in Bridgeport, Connecticut. Good to have you on board. Audrey Smith in Southampton in England says, good afternoon, Dervan and listeners, tuning in from a hot and humid Southampton. Stay cool in those hot, humid conditions, please, Audrey Smith. Ranny Bell in St. Thomas, good to have you on board. Sophia Nemad, good afternoon to you too. Gaveth Peterson, good afternoon. Cherry Henry, welcome, good to have you on board. Kevin Kedon Donaldson says, afternoon, Mr. Malcolm. Say good day to Miss Velonia Brown in Central Village. She listens to you daily. Hello to you, Miss Velonia Brown in Central Village, and all the other listeners to Poro 106 FM in Central Village. It's good to have you on board both sides of the story. Ricardo in Glengoff, St. Catherine is tuned in and bigging up everybody. Big up to you, Ricardo, in Glengoff, St. Catherine. Other messages popping up. Let's see. That was on YouTube. Also on YouTube, Rose McIntosh in London saying, good afternoon, Sir Dervan and all listeners. Good afternoon, Rose McIntosh in London and all the others. Let's see. We're looking out now for those who are connecting with us via WhatsApp. Thank you very much for tuning in and joining us on this Diaspora Day, a day to celebrate members of the Jamaican diaspora. Let's give you a bit of information in that regard. Let's see. There is some information here with respect to the work of the diaspora over the years. But just to reiterate the impact of the Jamaican diaspora on Jamaica and Jamaicans at home and abroad, the Jamaica diaspora continues to provide tremendous support for Jamaicans at home and abroad. About 800,000 people of Jamaican heritage, for example, live in the UK. And we can tell you as well that there are more people of Jamaican heritage residing overseas than the approximately 2.7 million people who live right here in Jamaica. Of those in the diaspora, we're told at least 1.8 million are based in the United States of America, with the majority, about 750,000, located in the state of Florida. The majority of those 800,000 we told you about earlier on, those 800,000 Jamaicans in the UK, the majority of them live in London or the greater London area. Let's take the break and come back.
You're listening to Power 106 FM. The time is now
3:15. Come here, Pitney. This a go hot, but no ball too hard. It's for your own good. Hush up, me say. When people see you with that big bunny upon your skin, then we feel sorry for you and give you money.
A child begging on the streets is a victim in need of care and protection. They are often sent out by adults who profit from their pain. This is human trafficking. Help eliminate human trafficking in Jamaica. Call 811 or the nearest police station and report suspected cases.
A message from the National Task Force Against Trafficking in Persons.
Win big this summer. Enter the Gleaner Star Luxurious Escape Competition. Win the grand prize of 2 weekends for two at an all-inclusive hotel plus $25,000 in groceries, weekly cash prizes, and more. Buy a printed copy of the Gleaner Star. Enter the serial number at the front page by texting 876-322-7967 or online at gleanerluxury.com. Competition runs from June 6 to July 10, 2021. See the Gleaner and the Star for details. Your luxurious escape awaits.
Thanks a lot for staying with us here on your program, Both Sides of the Story, Power 106 FM, still streaming live on the Gleaners website, go-jamaica.com, live on your smart devices all over the world. And let's see if we can clear. Where do we start? We have some messages here to clear. Let's go down the line. Going down. Coming up. Come on, let's go up the line. Let's go up. What's happening here? All right, let's do this. And that. No. All right, let's go to the top. Lloyd in Philadelphia says, good afternoon, Mr. Dervan. And good afternoon, Jamaica. I'm back home now, Mr. Dervan. Check this voice note and video about noise. See why I send it to you, Mr. Dervan. Just wondering if we Jamaicans in Jamaica can't do something about all the noise from the loud music and motorcycles. Sir D, did you know that in the cities here, no Jake's brake allowed to use on any truck? You will get a ticket for loud noise, loud music, and loud motorcycles. Thank you for sharing that information with us. It is a problem here in Jamaica. Too much noise. Too much noise. Here's another message. Mr. Malcolm, greetings, sir. You, Digicel and Flow, and to get to a customer service rep is very hard, especially Digicel. They don't give us any option to get to a customer service rep. Bear machine. Time to time, we need a customer service rep to talk to help us with whatever problems occurred. We would humbly suggest that you call the offices, not necessarily the call center, but look up Digicel in the directory or just on your smartphone, type contact Digicel, and you'll see the contact information. Try and call the offices of Digicel and ask to speak with the customer service representative. Perhaps you could try that. And the same thing for Flo. Sorry to hear of your plight. Hello to Yvette Blackburn out of the Global Jamaica Diaspora in Canada. Good to have you on board. Thank you very much. GMAC has sent us a lengthy message. He says, "Hi again, Dervan. What's the purpose of the Jamaica Teachers Association? I ask because my own observation over the years suggests that their sole purpose is to request pay increase and to seek justice for their constituents, even if they are wrong. A case in point happened last year when they defended the Pembroke Hall teacher who threatened the student in a video that went viral. Imagine, we are in a pandemic. Most private sector workers are asked to hold strain." We'll have to come back to your message, GMAC. The Prime Ministerial Town Hall is about to begin, and it will be moderated by the Prime Minister's Press Secretary, Naomi Francis. Let's listen.
Of Jamaica 60 and hopefully being able to celebrate Diaspora Day next year face to face. Welcome once again. Today we'll hear from the Prime Minister, the Most Honorable Andrew Holness, who is here with us in the banquet hall at Jamaica House. We also have Senator the Honorable Kamina Johnson-Smith. Of course, she's your minister, the Minister of Foreign Affairs and Foreign Trade. Later on, we'll be joined by Dr. the Honorable Christopher Tufton, the Minister of Health and Wellness. And finally, rounding out our panel this afternoon is the Senator the Honorable Leslie Campbell, the Minister of State in the Ministry of Foreign Affairs and Foreign Trade. Somewhere around, we have our brand new permanent secretary. Yes, you knew her in the diaspora, Sheila Monteith, Ambassador Sheila Monteith. Thank you so much for joining us as well, permanent secretary. Well, without further ado, I know you want to hear a lot of what's happening in Jamaica. What affects us in Jamaica affects you because, of course, your family is here. And as my grandmother would say, your navel string there, right? So let's hear from Senator the Honorable Leslie Campbell, the Minister of State in the Ministry of Foreign Affairs and Foreign Trade, who will bring us welcome. Senator.
The Most Honorable Andrew Holness, Prime Minister. Senator the Honorable Kamina Johnson-Smith, Minister of Foreign Affairs and Foreign Trade. Dr. the Honorable Christopher Tufton, Minister of Health and Wellness. Ms. Lisa Hanna, Opposition Spokesperson on Foreign Affairs and Foreign Trade. Ambassador Sheila Sealy Monteith, Permanent Secretary in the Ministry of Foreign Affairs and Foreign Trade. Fellow Jamaicans, good afternoon. Having greeted you earlier today, I'm happy to be able to do so again in this very important engagement with the Prime Minister of Jamaica. In my role as Minister with responsibility for the diaspora, I work very closely with the Prime Minister and the Minister of Foreign Affairs and Foreign Trade to ensure that we are engaging in an effective and fulsome manner with our Jamaicans overseas. Jamaicans have a strong tradition of volunteering for and participating in activities which enrich the Jamaican economy and add to the intellectual wealth and well-being of the country. Several sectors, including education and health, have been the beneficiary of the interventions by the diaspora, whether from individuals or diaspora organizations. We also recognize the very important role that diaspora plays in driving trade and investment. The government will continue to recognize, support, and applaud these efforts, and we remain committed to work in partnership with the diaspora to realize sustainable development for Jamaica. It is recognized that we have much work to do to continue to build a framework for engagement with the diaspora. This has to be an inclusive process, and consultations on the way forward will continue in earnest with all interested groups. I certainly will do all that I can to ensure that dialogue proceeds on the basis of openness, respect, and mutuality. Ladies and gentlemen, I look forward to your participation in this historic town hall that is being held on Diaspora Day, and hope that the discussions here today will fuel the generosity of spirit that resides within us all. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Senator the Honorable Leslie Campbell, the Minister of State in the Ministry of Foreign Affairs and Foreign Trade. Important that we set the stage, of course, talking about inclusivity with our diaspora, a consultative approach, and of course, partnership. Very, very critical as we, ensure that we forge together to ensure that we recover stronger, especially from the COVID-19 pandemic. Let's now then hear from the Honorable Christopher Tufton, the Minister of Health and Wellness. And certainly he's leading the charge along with the Prime Minister and the rest of the Cabinet in dealing with our own COVID-19 issues here. So, Minister. Glasses.
Thank you very much, Madam Chair, Honorable Prime Minister Andrew Holness, colleague ministers, distinguished members of the diaspora community, ladies and gentlemen, one and all, good afternoon to you. Maybe you can tell from my deportment that I rushed in here, and I want to apologize to all concerned. I'm happy to be a part of these discussions, and I certainly look forward to the conversations, the questions, the comments, the concerns that will be expressed during this very important diaspora consultation. I will say that I am proud to be a part of this Andrew Holness government at this particular point in the history of our country, and indeed in the history of the world, where we have faced one of the biggest public health threats that has confronted not just us as Jamaicans, but as a world. And indeed, 13, 14 months on, I believe we can say that we have been able to coordinate, collaborate, and respond to COVID-19 in a way that has left most Jamaicans feeling relatively safe and secure, even though, of course, there are challenges that we must work together to overcome. The public health response is one that has benefited significantly from the guidance and the leadership of the Cabinet, of course, led by its chairman, the Prime Minister. And it is something that we have placed significant emphasis on. We have deliberated hours at a time, many days of the week. And one of the things that we have sought to always do is to engage all of society. And all of society mean not just Jamaicans in Jamaica, but Jamaicans in the diaspora far and wide. And I really want to recognize Minister Johnson Smith, because she has certainly led that charge and kept us informed in terms of your concerns, your issues, and in terms of the response to addressing those concerns and issues. But we have done more. Beyond the response to COVID-19, we have sought to bring a new approach to public health. So we have a 10-year strategic plan. We are embarking on the largest infrastructure build-out that this country has seen as it relates to hospitals and health centers, with significant collaboration with the IDB, as well as through our regular annual budgetary process. And the details of that I can explain as we go on throughout the evening if persons are interested. We have also hired more doctors and nurses as part of the expansion of public health. And we have placed significant emphasis on prevention as a key response to lifestyle-related diseases. In all of this, the diaspora has played a critical role. We have sought to engage you. You have responded. Indeed, approximately 6% or so of our budget has been contributions or donations in one way or the other, whether through personnel and expertise or gifts in equipment coming from the diaspora. And so one of the things we have done over the last number of years, certainly under this administration, is to establish a foundation, Health and Wellness Foundation, a special unit to deal with issues related to the diaspora. So if you are interested to contribute, to donate, to participate, then we try to accommodate this as best as possible. And we are available to be contacted on our website. We do so through outreach, through forums such as this one, and we certainly look forward to expanding that as we go forward.
Dr. The Honorable Christopher Tufton, Minister of Health, addressing members of the diaspora on this Jamaica Diaspora Day. There's more after the break.
You're listening to Power 106 FM. The time is now
3:30.
Power 106 FM salutes and celebrates fathers. On Father's Day, Sunday, June 20, join Daddy Foss when he presents To Dad with Love from 3 to 5 p.m. as he takes your calls, plays music to honor fathers, and does giveaways. To Dad with Love is brought to you by Chatter Distributors, home of the Maxis Stars, your place to retire. KFC delivery. Order your KFC favorites now with 7 Crave. L.S. Duhaney, the electrical people. J.M. Bank will help you find a way. And Pioneer Manufacturing. Clorido, the ultimate clean, is a Clorido clean. That's To Dad with Love with Daddy Foss on Power 106 FM this Sunday, June 20, Father's Day, right here on Power 106 FM.
Color him love. Color him love. Said I'm gonna color him father. Color him father.
The Minister of Foreign Affairs and Foreign Trade, Senator the Honorable Kamina Johnson-Smith, is now addressing members of the diaspora and indeed Jamaica, part of Jamaica Diaspora Day celebrations 2021. Let's listen.
To welcome you. As you know, although we were not able to host the 9th biennial conference this year, the government is extremely happy that through agile collaboration with you, our diaspora, we've been able to pivot this year's engagement from conference to symposium. Our theme, Jamaica and the Diaspora, Stronger Together for a Sustainable Future, is important for both our recovery from the pandemic and in the longer term achievement of our national development goals. I am extremely grateful to our legacy partners and faithful stakeholders for their contributions, which are making the symposium a success. I particularly appreciate the input of the GJDC and GJDYC, who have been key partners in the development of the content and delivery of the substantive sessions of the symposium. I want to also use this opportunity to invite you all to join us tomorrow for the Youth Forum, which promises to be a dynamic and engaging examination of the theme Sustainability and the Youth, Our Future, Our Vision. I am very excited to hear from our young diasporans as they share their opinions and proposals on matters of national and international development. Ladies and gentlemen, I have the honor and pleasure of introducing Prime Minister Andrew Holness, who leads a government working to help Jamaicans achieve their full potential as healthy and productive citizens in a safe and just society. Pre-COVID, we were on track to achieve unparalleled growth. And furthermore, our government brought unemployment to historically low rates and cut poverty by 40%. The focus now is, of course, on recovering better and stronger. Members of the diaspora in particular will recognize that PM Holness has significantly raised Jamaica's profile on the international scene and has ensured that our global presence directly supports our national development goals. More particularly, under his leadership, Jamaica continues to advocate for small island developing states and middle-income countries on critical issues such as reforming the international financial architecture, financing for social and economic development, and certainly not least, climate change and resilience. Prime Minister Holness has been invited to participate in various high-level international fora and to co-chair several high-level multilateral initiatives, even as he steers our nation's ship through the stormy waters of developmental challenges, including, of course, this pandemic. This town hall represents another dimension of our foreign policy implementation, engagement with you, our Jamaican diaspora. So even as we have just joined the Governor General in celebrating the achievements of this year's awardees, I'd like to take a moment to sincerely thank the many individuals and institutions in the diaspora who continue to support our national development efforts at different levels. We look forward to many more years of successful partnerships. Ladies and gentlemen, I also express sincere gratitude to the Prime Minister for agreeing to host this important forum and for making the time so that Jamaicans across the globe will hear directly from and interact with him. Prime Minister Holness has provided clear and visionary leadership in shaping Jamaica's engagement with the global community, and in that context, with you, the members of our Jamaican family overseas, who are a critical constituency in those relations. We are indeed grateful that many of you have joined us in this dialogue and consultation, despite your many competing demands and the differing time zones. So without more, it is my great honor and pleasure to invite to the podium the Most Honorable Andrew Holness, Prime Minister of Jamaica, to deliver his remarks. I thank you.
Thank you very much, Minister Johnson Smith, our Minister of Foreign Affairs and Foreign Trade. And indeed, just to be frank about it, you have been the Minister of the Diaspora. No, you have really elevated diaspora matters to the central level of the government where it should be. And I want to commend you on that. And indeed, you're now ably supported by Minister of State, Senator Leslie Campbell, who has special responsibility for diaspora affairs. Minister Tufton had to pull himself away from the field. And just so that, for those of you who are watching us, Minister Tufton has done an exceptional job in managing the pandemic in Jamaica from the public health perspective. Indeed, people are confusing him with being a medical doctor, and he has to he has to go to great lengths to say that he's not a physician, but he speaks with such authority on the issues. I'm very happy you could make it, Minister. Let me also acknowledge Permanent Secretary Monteith, who is here in the Ministry of Foreign Affairs and Foreign Trade. I'm speaking to you with my mask on because the protocols that are established in Jamaica requires that every citizen wears their mask when in public or when they are in a gathering. I am fully vaccinated, and I would say all members on the platform are vaccinated, and certainly the audience around me would have had at least one shot, I hope, or not both. So I'm going to take my mask off so that you can see my face. Ignore those little streaks. That's because I've been wearing the mask all day. It gives me great pleasure to host this virtual meeting, town hall meeting, on this first day of the Jamaica Diaspora Sustainability Symposium. It is an absolute privilege to be able to interact with representatives of the diaspora, especially on Diaspora Day. Diaspora Day was born out of the recommendation that there should be a selected day where the achievements of the diaspora would be highlighted and the oneness of Jamaicans, both here and abroad, celebrated. That recommendation came out of the first historic Jamaica Diaspora Conference held in Kingston in 2004. This year's symposium is being held under the theme, Jamaica and the Diaspora, Stronger Together for a Sustainable Future. Its meaning could not be more powerful and relevant. Allow me to extend my sympathy and solidarity with all those who have been affected by this pandemic. all of us have had to endure the myriad challenges which have accompanied this most unexpected and difficult time in our history. Earlier today, the Governor General's Diaspora Awards for Excellence were presented to 6 Jamaicans who have made significant contributions to the fight against COVID-19. I extend my heartiest congratulations to them. As we celebrate our brothers and sisters overseas, I must acknowledge the invaluable contributions that Jamaicans have made to the development of their adopted countries, as well as to the development of Jamaica through various philanthropic, commercial, and social sector interventions. Indeed, support from our diaspora has been a critical lifeline for our country during the pandemic. According to the most recent Bank of Jamaica remittance bulletin for March 2021, net remittance inflows increased by 70% in March 2021 relative to March 2020, and by 36% for the 2021 fiscal year relative to 2020. With our foreign exchange inflows from tourism being decimated, remittances from our diaspora have been invaluable in maintaining our balance of payments, as well as our net international reserves, which remain buoyant at over $3 billion. There could be no clearer testimony of the depth of the support of the diaspora for their families in Jamaica, even during the most challenging times of the pandemic. Beyond sending remittances, the diaspora continues to promote trade and foreign direct investment, spur entrepreneurship, create new businesses, and transfer knowledge and skills. Despite all this support, this powerful reservoir of capital, expertise, and relationships remains largely untapped relative to its potential. According to a 2017 study by the Caribbean Policy Research Institute, CAPRI, the unrealized economic potential of the diaspora represents, at a minimum, US $1.5 billion annually, US dollars. This potential, if realized, can catalyze the growth and development of Jamaica. My government is committed to seeking increased engagement in our diaspora to harness this tremendous pool of dynamic expertise and priceless human capital towards the development of our country. According to the latest report from the Ministry of Health and Wellness, we have had 49,379 overall confirmed cases of COVID-19. This represents a rate of positivity of 4.1%, which is now down from as high at one point of 30 to 40% a few months ago. This means that the various measures implemented under our Disaster Risk Management Act have been successful in controlling our second wave. I must caution, however, that there is no room for complacency. There continues to be new variant strains of concern, and due to the global shortage of vaccine supply, our rate of vaccination remains relatively low. As we further the discussion on areas of priority concern for the government and diaspora, chief among them is crime and violence. The government recognizes the deep-rooted and systemic nature of the epidemic of violence in Jamaica. We all need to understand that there is no quick fix to the problem of violence. The government is adopting a multi-pronged approach directed at achieving a sustainable reduction in crime and violence. We are strengthening the entire national security apparatus, including equipment, technology, skills, as well as the legislative infrastructure. We're also investing heavily in social transformation programs in violence-prone communities. At the same time, we're looking at the deep-rooted cultural and societal causes of violent behavior. The National Commission on Violence Prevention has been tasked with developing a midterm plan to address the troubling societal norms that appear to support the use of violence to settle disputes in all dimensions of life.
Prime Minister Andrew Holness addressing members of the diaspora and those of us right here at home on this Diaspora Day Town Hall meeting. There's more after the break.
You're listening to Power 106 FM. The time is now
3:45.
Tune into Farm Talk, 6:18 to 6:35 a.m. the first Tuesday of every month, and 6:18 to 6:45 p.m. the last Tuesday of every month for First Hand in the Field. Real issues, real solutions. Join the Newport First Hand team in the field as they identify problems and tell you how to address them. First Hand in the Field, Real Issues, Real Solutions is brought to you by Newport First Hand Jamaica Limited, the first on the land.
The subject of crime is being addressed by the Prime Minister on this Diaspora Day virtual town hall meeting. Let's listen.
In the global technological revolution. Last year, I appointed the Education Transformation Commission under the chairmanship of Professor Orlando Patterson of Harvard University, himself a member of the diaspora, to undertake a comprehensive review of our entire education system. We await the Commission's report and recommendations, which are due by September 2021. A few months ago, we launched the Amber Heart Coding Academy. So far, the Academy has taken in approximately 100 students to be trained in coding skills, followed by a paid internship for those who successfully complete the program. Following this initial cohort, we plan to significantly scale up the program. The government is committed to improving the infrastructure in Jamaica in support of sustainable development. We have, over the last few years, already made transformational investments in upgrading our road, water, and sewage infrastructure. Other large infrastructure projects are also either underway or in advanced planning stages. These include the Southern Coastal Highway Improvement Project, which will significantly reduce travel time for people and goods from the eastern sections of the island heading into Kingston. And indeed, it will also improve efficiency of our traffic flow throughout the country. The Montego Bay Perimeter Bypass Project, which will serve to address the long-standing problem of congestion in Montego Bay and its environs. This project is also in an advanced stage of planning. The government has also committed to making massive improvements in the country's housing infrastructure, particularly low-income housing. We have made a policy commitment to build 70,000 new houses in this term of the administration. Our government seeks to engender a greater sense of community through active engagement to foster a more sustainable future for all of us. I assure our diaspora across the globe that we are working to create greater synergies in the pursuit of development. I encourage you to remain connected and join us in building the kind of future that you and I want to see for our beloved country, Jamaica, land we love. I thank you.
Thank you so much, Prime Minister, the Most Honorable Andrew Holness. You know, every time the Prime Minister speaks, he has a message of hope, optimism, realism, action, and of course, the strategy, the broader strategy that the government has to implement to ensure that Jamaica is better today, tomorrow, and certainly farther in the future. So we have our slogans: recovering stronger together, recovering better together. And for the Ministry of Education, certainly as the Prime Minister announced last Friday that the government is aiming to begin face-to-face classes this September, for the Ministry of Education, it's recovering smarter together. So that's wonderful. Now, ladies and gentlemen, especially those on social media and those on our Zoom platform, it's time for you to pose your questions. We've allocated the rest of the time until 5 o'clock Jamaica time. Wherever else you are in the world, that gives you more than an hour to speak with the Prime Minister and the other ministers on the platform and ask them any questions you have. So we ask you to pose your questions in the chat. We'll certainly pose them to the Prime Minister and the other panelists. And just before we take those questions, because it was nice like stew peas and rice without the pork, we're going to give you again Eric Donaldson, This Is the Land of My Birth.
No matter where we go in this world, once we identify ourselves as Jamaicans, everybody get crazy. They all want to hear us chat some patois like Miss Lou. Hey, so let's wave the black, the green, and the gold. Jamaica, one people, oh, one country, oh, hey, spreading love everywhere we go. Hey, one people, oh, one country, oh, hey, spreading love everywhere we go. Nothing to me like New York. People are flying for the niceness on the riverside, tropical bliss. I love how the kids them a play. I wish we could all be like children one day, dancing and splashing and holding hands. No matter your color nor where you're from, you're welcome to reggae on my island. Cause out coming we are one everything now. Whoa, let me see you light it up. Whoa, we are diamonds in the rough. Whoa, voices so loud can't be denied. Across the world, our light still shines. Together we are one people, oh, one country, oh, hey, spreading love everywhere we go. Hey, one people, oh, one country, oh, hey, spreading love everywhere we go. Alright, come to Jamaica, the land of beauty, where life on the beach feels like a movie. Take a trip, touchdown if you're feeling groovy. We party every day, cause we love the talk. We will rise above the hardest of the times. Hey, even though sometimes the hills are hard to climb, let your light shine. Oh, let me see you light it up. Oh, we are diamonds in the rough. Oh, voices so loud can't be denied. Across the world, our lights still shine. Together we are one people, oh, one country, oh, hey, spreading love everywhere we go. Hey, one people, oh, one country, oh, hey, spreading love everywhere we go. Nothing to me like New York. People are flying for the niceness on the riverside, tropical bliss. I love all the kids them a play. I wish we could all be like kids for one day. Put the women from cassava, me a kid with me and my banana. And when you hear me say watch out, just know say you learn one people, oh, one country, oh, hey, spreading love everywhere we go. Hey, one people, oh, one country, oh, hey, spreading love everywhere we go. Hey, one people, oh, one country, oh, hey, spreading love everywhere we go. Hey, one people, oh, one country, oh,
So that was brown sugar. Apparently, that I mentioned no pork. Everybody got up in arms and said, "No, we're going to give you brown sugar instead." But a wonderful song from last year's festival song competition, "One People, One Country" by the rising star Brown Sugar. Thank you so much for continuing to join us. For those, of course, on YouTube, on Facebook, on Instagram and Twitter, thank you. And for those in the United States, I know you're many. So welcome, good afternoon. For those in Africa, those in the UK, good night. It's night there, 7 hours ahead of Jamaica, right? Night it is. So good evening, good night, and of course, good afternoon to you. So let's get straight to your questions, ladies and gentlemen. We have many, and we have taken, we're giving you all the time you need, more than an hour, to ensure that the Prime Minister and all the ministers here answer your questions. As expected, lots of people in the diaspora have COVID on their minds. And so the first question goes to Dr. Tufton from, I believe this is Dr. Brown in the diaspora. Dr. Tufton, please give us a tangible example of how the Ministry of Health and Wellbeing, but it's Health and Wellness, is engaging the professional expertise within the diaspora.
Okay, well, we have had a number of missions that have come to Jamaica, facilitated by the ministry, to perform various expert functions, whether it is surgeries of one form or another. So I give you one example, the Chain of Hope organization, which is a UK-based organization, has an agreement with the Bustamante Hospital for Children, and they come a few times a year. They champion the building out of the cardiac center at the Bustamante Hospital, a very advanced, high-tech facility, which allowed us very recently to do two procedures, well, a procedure on two pediatric patients, two babies, that was never done before, involving liver transplant, where they took parts from the parent and put it into the youngsters. One didn't make it, the other did, but that's just a very real, tangible example of the medical professionals who reside overseas, who maintain a link. And we have several of them each year, literally multiples of that type of mission at different institutions.
Thank you, Dr. Tufton. Dr. Karen Dunkley as well is just making a comment, and I'll read it. It says, Dr. Tufton, please share explicitly, I mean, she's joining Dr. Brown, but she makes a very important point that the Jamaica Diaspora Northeast health sector continues to play a critical role in helping to support and reimagine healthcare in Jamaica, and they need more support from the government to ensure that is happening. A question to the Prime Minister now. With your recognition of the financial importance of the diaspora, can you commit, sir, to the government legislating to give the diaspora a vote? And he says, I believe this is Mikhail Foster says, taxation and representation.
It's a very interesting question. And whenever I address the diaspora, this question comes up. I don't have a stock response, but let me share with you, give you some insight. In my constituency, on election day, I saw several persons that I'm certain they migrated. They live overseas. In fact, I saw them at my last town hall in the UK. And I was surprised to see them in Jamaica on election day. So I inquired, why are you here? So, Prime Minister, I have to come vote. Of course, I mean, I'm assuming who we voted for. But the point I'm making is that the Jamaican diaspora does vote and can vote under our present legislative structure if they can establish that they are citizens of Jamaica, that they are residing here over a year, I believe it is, and that they, well, having those two things would entitle them to be registered in Jamaica to vote. So just to be clear, that members of the diaspora are not exempted from registering to vote as long as they can establish the requirements under the Representation of the People Act.
Prime Minister Holness addressing the question of the diaspora vote that was just raised in this town hall to mark part of activities to mark Diaspora Day 2021. More in a moment.
At Wellington Dental, they offer cleaning, filling, whitening, and other services for the entire family. The time by Wellington Dental is
4 o'clock.
Y ahora es en español, son las 4. Quelle heure est-il en français? Les 4 heures. Ciencia, TDN le, CDN. 4 o'clock in the afternoon here at Broadcast House, 32 Lyndhurst Road, Kingston 5, St. Andrew, Jamaica. Have you had a checkup lately? If not, now is a good time. Let's not wait till we get sick to get a checkup. How about that? Checking in with more on this special edition of Both Sides of the Story on this Jamaica Diaspora Day. The Jamaica Diaspora Day town hall meeting, virtual town hall meeting is on right now. The Prime Minister has been responding to the question of the diaspora vote. Let's rejoin the feed.
Could be done. Members of the diaspora, as long as they meet the requirements for registration, they are citizens, they are living here for more than a certain period of time, they can establish residence here, they can register and vote.
Thank you, Prime Minister. Another question, a comment in a question, really. I hope the efforts to address violence including gender-based violence, sexual harassment, and assault. We must get to the point where there is zero tolerance for any form of violence and appropriate consequences. And this comes from Adomanda Patterson.
I see everybody's looking at me to answer. Let me just say that Jamaica has an epidemic of violence. It is something that we have to treat with, we have to confront it. We can no longer ignore it. It is a serious health problem, as well as a social problem, a behavioral problem. And that is why we have appointed the National Commission on Violence Prevention, headed by a well-respected professor at the University of the West Indies, Professor Sams Vaughan, who is well-published and well-respected internationally in child development. And it is a multifaceted commission that is pulling together all the work that has already been done on violence, which is substantial, and working out a medium-term roadmap for the government to respond to this social, health, and behavioral crisis that we have in violence. And just in a synopsis, the challenge that we have is that violence is being used as a currency of social transactions. It is being used to settle disputes, which ordinarily should be settled by just reasoning with each other. It is being used in interpersonal affairs, in intimate partner affairs. It is being used in domestic affairs. We have recently seen several incidents where brothers are killing brothers, fathers killing sons, sons killing fathers. We're seeing it being displayed in carnal abuse. We're seeing it being displayed even in teacher-pupil relationships. And we have to, as a society, confront it because it has its roots deeply embedded in how we parent, that's number one, and in how we grow up our men, our boys in particular, and how we accept violence in our entertainment, in our culture, and just generally in the society. And so the objective of the government is to tackle this problem by changing the mindset of Jamaicans in their social transaction.
Minister, if you could, yes.
Minister has shared with us, which is clearly shows a deep understanding by this administration of the fact that there's no quick fix to violence, including gender-based violence, and there's this broad psychosocial perspective that has to be taken to its approach. But I also wanted to share, and in particular in respect of gender-based violence, that we're also looking at the legislative approach. And we have completed a joint select committee that has reviewed the Offences Against the Persons Act, the Child Care and Protections Act, the Domestic Violence Act, as well as the Sexual Offences Act. And the joint select committee has recommended a raft of improvements to those pieces of legislation to strengthen the protection that is given in those bills, or rather in those acts, to women, children, the elderly, and persons living with disabilities. It not only seeks to enhance the penalties, which are there. We know that's part of a cycle. You have to be able to identify, to catch, to have the trust of people, to give evidence, etc. And that's other work that's being done, including the provision of mechanisms that allow sensitive and vulnerable witnesses to give evidence remotely so that they can not be victimized twice over. We're enhancing the legislative framework as the signal and the cornerstone of the framework that will ensure that our women, our children, elderly, and persons with disabilities have greater protection under the law from violence.
Thank you so much, Minister. Very, very important intervention, because, you know, behavior change is not just what you do, but the legislative process is also part of ensuring that we have, behavior change. This forum is very, very critical because, in the era of social media, it's easy as well to spread misinformation. And it's so very good that members of the diaspora can have you here to ask critical questions. So there are so many things that will float in social media, so many innuendos, hearsays, and downright gossips that will come out in social media that we now have a chance to clear up. Let me go to a question then from, and he turns his name around, but I've spelled it out for you, Donahue. I got you there, right? Donahue McCoy asks, well, we love our country, but it's getting out of hand and out of control by violence and hooligans. That's what he says. If only we could have a response, Mr. Prime Minister, to our diasporans.
So I am very sympathetic to the sentiments that are raised, and that sentiment encapsulates a wide range of feelings across the diaspora when Jamaicans overseas, and Jamaicans here as well, are exposed to news reports about some of the violent crimes that are being committed. And I must say that it is important that we do not try to downplay that, because the danger in that is to create a level of acceptance that creates a new normal. What is happening should not be accepted as normal. And we shouldn't draw a parallel with other countries to say these kinds of crimes are happening in other countries. No, these kinds of crimes should not be happening in our peaceful, loving Jamaica, land we love. And I think it's important that members of the diaspora continue to find it a reproach and reprehensible that these kinds of crimes are happening, and that the government must keep speaking out against it. And we must set the standard and say clearly that we do not support or believe that what is happening is normal. Indeed, we are working to get to what we consider to be normal. Now, as Minister Johnson Smith has pointed out, this is not going to happen overnight. We can't flip a switch and change it. For those of you who grew up in Jamaica in the 60s, at a period of time when Jamaica's murder rate was, in very low 5 per 100,000, you would remember a kinder, more peaceful, gentler society.
that has changed. In the 1970s, things took a turn for the worst. And I'm not saying that for any political issues. I'm just pointing out a time when this happened. So for more than 40 years, we have been seeing an unprecedented increase in violent crimes indexed by murder and homicides. And we've seen that violent crime and murders increasing, in particular in the 1990s and in the early 2000s. We've seen a reduction, and we have continued to work to keep a lid on crime. If you look at the statistics, what you will see is that in the last 10 years, we have managed to reduce violent crimes, reduce murders, and indeed reduce crimes generally. However, in the last 10 years, you would be seeing greater reporting of crime and indeed the explosion of social media. So persons are more aware. Where we are now at approximately 36 to 40 per 100,000 of murders, that places us in an abnormally high category. And the plan is to bring this down to 15 per 100,000, which would be the average for the Latin America, North American region. We will get there. We have put in place the plans to improve policing, and there's a lot of work that is going on behind the scenes to improve the integration of technology in our policing, cameras, surveillance, and other forms of communication technology in terms of improving our training, how our police interacts with the public, in terms of legislation to deal with gangs and other forms of organized crimes. We have now had a focus on cyber crimes, not just narcotics and other things, but cyber crimes are now a focus of our police. And we now have a national security plan which focuses heavily on protecting our borders, because much of our crime is driven by transnational organizations. So we are doing what is necessary to transform our police and our military and our national security apparatus. And we are working hand in hand with our social intervention projects, which are targeted at dealing with the root causes of the problem. And we are also far more structured in our community intervention and security strategy through what we call the zones of special operations, which has, in my opinion, has been very successful in bringing peace to communities that were literally at war with themselves. So in a synopsis then, yes, the problem is one for which we ought rightfully to be concerned, and we should express our concern. And we welcome the expression of that concern, and you should continue to express it, because we do not want this to become the norm that people accept. But you should also be assured that there is a plan that is being well executed and that is having an impact and having an effect.
Thank you, Prime Minister. So we have several questions, and we're going to get to as many as possible within the next 46 minutes that we have. May I ask, I'm seeing the names very well on our platforms. What I'm not seeing is exactly where you're from. So if you could also say where in the diaspora you're from, that would be wonderful as well. Let's go to another question then. Why are we paying $10 to $15, maybe this is US, to do COVID tests? Minister Tufton.
Well, it depends on the type of test that you're doing. So there are two tests that we administer. One is an antigen test, which is many refer to as a quick test, which gives you a result within half an hour. And we have the PCR test, which takes at least a day or so to be processed in the lab. The PCR test is a more accurate test, and it does involve a lot more. And so it tends to be more expensive. The price varies,
but you could end up paying. There's a fairly wide margin between some of the outlets that are offering the test. The antigen test is a cheaper test, and yes, you could pay between $10-15 for that test, or even more in some cases. In the initial, it was really an issue of how many options we have. The government initially was the sole provider of those tests, and they are free.
The Honorable Dr. Christopher Tufton, the Minister of Health and Wellness, responding to a question at the Prime Ministerial Town Hall, part of Diaspora Day activities here in Jamaica. More in a moment.
You're listening to Power 106 FM. The time is now
4:15.
Que ahora es en español, son las 4:15. Quelle heure est-il en français? Les 4h15. Tiensei, TDN se dien Sherwoofen. 15 minutes past 4 o'clock in the afternoon here at Broadcast House 32 Lyndhurst Road, Kingston 5, St. Andrew, Jamaica. Have you done your homework yet? If not, now is a good time. Good afternoon to all the schoolers listening to us, all the students from the early childhood level to the secondary level. Trust you had a productive day of learning today. Hope you also managed to get in some physical activity, just as important as mental activity. As we always say, young people, socialization makes you educable, education makes you trainable, training makes you employable, and the right attitude makes you successful. Homework time, young people, on this Diaspora Day 2021, under the theme, The Diaspora, Stronger Together for a Sustainable Future. The Prime Ministerial Town Hall continues. Let's rejoin the feed.
The impact of the pandemic and the measures to combat the pandemic would have had an even greater impact on creating inequalities in the country. And the impact has been far more greater on the poor. And so the government is very sensitive to the effect that the measures are having on poor households, certainly in terms of income and employment, but also in terms of just our mental health of restricting movement and restricting gatherings and entertainment. And if we could do it, if we could remove the restrictions today, we would. The challenge, however, is that the people who are calling for the removal of the restrictions would soon forget that they were calling for it if there were ever to be an uncontrolled spread or spike in infections. So the government has to be responsible in balancing these two things, the social and economic impact and the need to preserve livelihoods versus the health of the people. And it is a struggle. Minister Tufton, in his opening remarks, explained that the cabinet deliberates on these matters for hours on end, trying to strike that right balance. People in Jamaica looking on at their family in the diaspora being able now to go to restaurants and move about and go to parties are looking on our government and saying, why are we being so strict? Why are we targeting dancehall and why are we shutting down parties when see people overseas? But they forget one critical distinction, and that is our vaccination rate is just under 8% of persons who have had the first dose of the vaccine, just under 5% for persons who have had the full 2 doses of the vaccine. In the United States and other countries, their vaccination rate is approaching 50%, if not surpassing that. And therefore, the risk to their population is less, far less than the risk to our population. Yet, there is a high level of hesitancy in our population. So the diaspora can be very helpful to us in their direct communication to their family members in encouraging Jamaicans who are hesitant to take the vaccine. The only way that we can have any confidence of a reopening without a reoccurrence of a spike or uncontrolled spread is if that reopening is coupled with vaccination. And that is the reality. It has to be coupled with vaccination. So we have some ways to go, but we have as a cabinet deliberated, and we understand that the psychological impact, the emotional impact on the health of the population is also at stake, as well as people's livelihoods and the health of the economy. And so in the coming days, I will be making some announcements which will see a further recrafting of the measures that will ease the psychological and emotional impact and the economic impact as well.
Thank you, Prime Minister. I think what you haven't said to the diaspora is that really the government has been working day and night, marathon meetings, even on Saturdays and Sundays, virtually and in person. All the ministers on the panel really can attest to that, and certainly the support team can attest to that in terms of those marathon meetings, just to make sure that we get the matrix right, we get the balance right to ensure that Jamaica recovers stronger indeed. Minister Campbell, I do have a question for you from someone who's asking more about, plans for more engagement with the diaspora. Before you answer that question, we're able to see people who can ask questions. So we have Cleve McKenzie, who is on Zoom, who wants to pose his question directly. Cleve, good afternoon from Jamaica.
Good afternoon. Good afternoon. Thank you so much, Mr. Prime Minister and honorable ministers.
I'm sorry, Cleve, could you say where you're from as well, please?
Oh, sure. I'm in China.
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 Wow.
Yes. So I've been up all
The Prime Minister has asked, what time is it in China?
It's like 4 in the morning, and I've been up since 1, watching the entire day. So
all right. Thank you so much and welcome.
Read my question. Okay. Thank you so much, Prime Minister and honorable ministers. As a Jamaican teacher and entrepreneur living in the People's Republic of China for nearly 20 years and seeing the remarkable progress China has made within that time, I think there is much Jamaican could adopt and adapt from the Chinese experience, whether it's in urban renewal, infrastructure, or pandemic management. There is only much to be learned from other parts of the Asian Pacific region. In this regard, are there any programs that China that are geared towards urban renewal and community revitalization? Also, I know that the Embassy of Jamaica in Beijing has been doing a lot of work on the ground in promoting Jamaica in China. But I wonder how we as a diaspora might help to promote Jamaica here in China, as well as share, observe best practices with organizations with a view to spurring national development. Is there even an accepted role for the diaspora in this particular area?
A very, very good question. I would normally turn these matters over to our Minister of Foreign Affairs, who I'm sure will supplement any answers that I would give you.
Mm-hmm.
But let me just say that Jamaica and China has an important strategic relationship.
Okay.
And that relationship continues well, and it is sustained by our mutual friendship and respect for each other. And we have engaged in ways that are mutually beneficial to both countries. And I want to be clear that both countries benefit from our relationship. And Jamaica has positioned itself and has maintained a posture that any relationship with any country must be to its benefit as well. And so we have ensured that we have a beneficial relationship with our friends from the People's Republic of China. Now, the relationship has centered around investments in infrastructure. So you speak about the amazing transformation of China. I visited China, and I agree with you. There is so much that we could learn, but it's a different culture, and we come from a different history and a different civilization. So there are differences with our system of government, but there are things we can learn. And our relationship with China has been in improving our infrastructure, particularly our road infrastructure. I don't know when last you've been to Jamaica. If you've been to Jamaica within the last 5 or so years, you probably would have traveled on the North-South Highway. But I guarantee you that the next time that you come to Kingston, you may not recognize 3 Miles. You may not recognize Marcus Garvey Drive. You may not recognize Marcus Garvey Drive. And you certainly will not recognize the corridor leading from Harborview going straight into Port Antonio. That is the South Coast Road Improvement Project. And if you come to Jamaica in the next 5 years, you again will be astounded by other magnificent projects that we will have in store, including the Montego Bay Perimeter Road, which will improve traffic flow around the city of Montego Bay from our airports into other interland areas of Jamaica and other tourist resort areas of Jamaica. So we have had a beneficial relationship with China for infrastructure development. Where I believe that the diaspora in China can have a massive impact is on we appreciate investing in Jamaica, but we also the other way, and that is critical. So it's important that the diaspora there looks for opportunities in China for importing stuff from Jamaica, Jamaican food, fish, and other manufactured items or rum, and coffee. I was with President Xi at a trade show in China, and he did sample Jamaican rum and appreciated it. And we have had great discussions about Jamaican coffee. In fact, I sent a couple pounds of Blue Mountain coffee for President Xi. So I think there's great opportunity there for our diaspora to seek to create a market for Jamaican goods.
Would you?
Well, I could add that, of course, in respect of engagement as well, and I want to thank you again for staying up. You may have been the person I was telling good morning at the start of the conference then, but I knew that we would have some friends and family in Asia and including in China in particular. So I'm so glad to see you and so glad you had the opportunity to ask a question. We have established, as you know, the Global Jamaica Diaspora Council as a tool for deeper engagement with our diaspora. Beyond, as a matter of fact, beyond our traditional locations. And Dr. Nicolene Johnson is actually the Asia Pacific rep, and she is located in China. And she has started the Jamaica-China Association, or Association of Jamaicans in China, and they were of fantastic support and assistance when we were in the heart of the pandemic, when, of course, China was in the throes of its experience before it had reached Jamaica, and liaising with our students and other teachers and members of the Jamaican community there. That association will remain to be a tool and a mechanism for outreach, as well as our mission. So Dr. Johnson will, of course, liaise with our mission and create additional links because we seek to deepen our relationship. And of course, she was stuck here for part of that time, unfortunately, but is now back there. And while she worked remotely, she's now back on the ground with you guys and will continue to do the work. In respect of trade, which the Prime Minister referred to, certainly in respect of bauxite, export of bauxite for aluminium, you know that GISCO had started operations here and upgrading our plants here. And that alone had doubled the trade outflows between Jamaica and China. And live and frozen lobster are now products that we export Green and Minister Shaw have been working on, in cucumbers and other seafood, which are delicacies and niches that Jamaica can provide in amounts which are small in the Chinese context, of course, but of significant impact to our trade balance.
The Minister of Foreign Affairs and Foreign Trade, Senator the Honorable Kamina Johnson-Smith, responding to another question. The Prime Ministerial Town Hall being held as part of activities to mark Jamaica Diaspora Day today. More in a moment.
You're listening to Power 106 FM. The time is now
4:30.
The future is electric vehicles, and the future is already here.
We are Evergo, the largest and most sophisticated network of charging stations.
We have created a network to get you where you want, safely and reliably, moving Jamaica towards a sustainable future.
Go wherever you want, and Evergo will be very close, filling you with the desire to continue discovering your destination. Find out more at evergonet.com or Evergo_Jamaica on Instagram.
Connected forward.
Power 106 FM salutes and celebrates fathers. On Father's Day, Sunday, June 20, join Daddy Foss when he presents To Dad with Love from 3 to 5 p.m. as he takes your calls, plays music to honor fathers, and does giveaways. To Dad with Love is brought to you by Chatter Distributors, home of the Maxis Stars, your place to retire. KFC delivery. Order your KFC favorites now with 7 Crave. L.S. Duhaney, the electrical people. J.N. Bank will help you find a way. And Pioneer Manufacturing. Chlorido, the ultimate clean, is a Chlorido clean. That's To Dad with Love with Daddy Foss on Power 106 FM this Sunday, June 20, Father's Day, right here on Power 106 FM.
Color him love. Color him love. Said I'm gonna color him father. Color him father.
All vows and loyal promises, loyalties to thee.
Que hora es en español? Son las 5 menos 28. Quelle heure est-il en français? Les 5h moins 28. 现在地点了5点差28分. 28 minutes to 5 o'clock in the afternoon here at Broadcast House, 32 Lyndhurst Road, Kingston 5, St. Andrew, Jamaica. Do you know where your children are? Are they where they're supposed to be? Doing what they're supposed to be doing? It's a good time to check up on the children. Just seeing a release from the Jamaica Olympic Association saying the Jamaica Olympic Association wishes to advise that a decision has been taken to cancel the camp which had been scheduled for next month in the prefecture of Tottori, Japan. No doubt you'll hear more as the afternoon progresses. But first, let's resume our coverage of the Jamaica Diaspora Day Prime Ministerial Town Hall, virtual Town Hall meeting happening right now.
That have come up, that have emerged as a result of the pandemic, especially with our young people.
Okay, so it is a fact that part of the restriction on the population has been mental health issues, anxiety, depression, and other mental health related issues, and particularly among the young who have had to stay home and not had the opportunity in the traditional way to interact with their friends at school or at home. We have, in recognition of that, developed a few programs. Firstly, we have made a hotline available, toll-free hotline for persons to call in. That's 888-1-LOVE. We have engaged mental health practitioners and established their availability in order to respond to the concerns that have been raised. We have also, in relation to our young people, established a group of volunteers and had a training session actually at the National Conference Center downtown, where we train them in conjunction with a training manual from PAHO and the Jamaica Red Cross to reach out into communities and to provide critical support to young people who are experiencing mental health issues, providing support in terms of homework support, just talking to them. And that program was captured under the designation of Reach Out Rangers. So we call them Reach Out Rangers. And we pull them from different communities across Jamaica. So that's an active program that is now taking place. There are other programs that are available, but those were the specifically tabled programs during the course of the pandemic.
All right, ministers, we have 25 minutes and lots of questions. First one, Canada, and then I have Texas in the US and some other places. Let's go to Canada though. Honorable Prime Minister, you have a relationship with the Canadian Prime Minister, the Honorable Justin Trudeau. What efforts are currently underway to make the farm work program better for the many Jamaicans who journey to Canada yearly so that they can take care of their families and contribute to the country's economy? And this is from Romaine Redmond in Canada.
A good question. Recently, I was having a discussion with our Minister of Labour and Social Security, who gave us a very comprehensive overview of the program. The program actually has served Jamaica. Persons who have benefited would have done fairly well for themselves, to the point that the relationships that have been developed between the Jamaican farm workers and the farms themselves would have led to repeat requests. In fact, the minister was pointing out that they have gotten so many repeat requests that it might lead to the exclusion of new persons being added to the pool. That is a signal of just how well our workers are working. But more than that, the strength of the relationship, worker to farm owner. There seems to be, areas of success in the program, and to the point that special provisions were made for our farm workers to travel during the period of the extensive lockdown in Canada. So we were able to send our farm workers into Canada. But I agree with you. I think that there are always opportunities that have to be explored. And from my discussion with Minister Samuda, he did assure me that he was exploring options and opportunities to expand the program and improve the benefits for the workers.
Thank you, Prime Minister. Just a clarification on a response that you had given earlier. Dr. Brown in the US, I believe she is asking, she wanted to ask specifically to public boards. How can members of the diaspora contribute specifically to be on public boards as well?
Yes, so we have, without having a specific program, but the policy of the government is that we should utilize the talent pool that exists. And so on several public boards, we have members of the diaspora. We are changing our policy for the appointment of board members to a more transparent and a more open way of appointing persons to public boards. And when this policy change occurs, which will happen very shortly when we change the regulation, the new scheme will see open invitation for Jamaicans to apply to serve on public boards. And that will be open to, of course, persons in the diaspora. There may be some requirement for them to travel to Jamaica to be in a certain number of meetings. But what we have seen with virtual meetings and the reliability of the virtual technology, that too may change. So I would say that in the coming months, you should look out for that change in our policy for the appointment of members to boards, which will see to the allowing persons to apply to put their resume in a pool and become eligible for selection on public boards.
Thank you, Prime Minister. So Chris Parker is in the U.S. and he has several questions. So I'll just take all of them and have the Minister of Health take them. All right, he has about 4 or 5. All right, Chris, here you go. What's being done in Jamaica to continually monitor and regulate and maintain our health facilities? And how is the U.S. assisting with vaccination supplies? Are they willing to help? And also for rural residents, final question from Kristen, rural residents, do they have access to vaccines?
Okay. All right. So on the second question, I will defer to my colleague, Minister of Foreign Affairs and Foreign Trade, who has been championing the conversation involving our key bilateral partners, the U.S. being a significant one as it relates to vaccine access. But as it relates to maintenance of our infrastructure, we've been doing a lot. As I said in my opening remarks, we have unveiled a 10-year development plan for healthcare. We have negotiated funds under with the IDB, which has been approved, $100 million US, and have commenced and continue to develop designs for either improvement in our healthcare infrastructure or the build out of new ones. We currently have 325 health centers across the country. We're guided by a principle of a health center within no more than 10 miles of a resident. And we have tried to maintain that ratio, which does require some adjustments at times, depending on how population shifts. But that is something that is ongoing. And in terms of our hospitals, whether in rural or urban spaces, we have plans. We're developing Spanish Town Hospital, significant development, St. Mapen Hospital, St. Anne's Bay, and just to name a few. So there is a major capital investment project. Indeed, I'll say it's probably the most significant under any government since independence, will be spent over the next 3 to 5 years. In terms of rural Jamaica and access to vaccines, we have taken an approach to involve critical stakeholders who are key influencers right across the length and breadth of Jamaica as part of the mobilization and convincing to bring people out for vaccines. So for starters, we have vaccine centers that are right across the country in every parish and in critical communities. Secondly, we have involved the churches. As you know, they're spread out across the country. So I've had several meetings with the minister's fraternity. We've had discussions with the political representatives, so our members of parliament, our councillors, and just to make a specific case in point to support the fact that we're across the country. We had received some vaccines some time ago, 75,000, to be delivered within 5 days. And at the end of the 5th day, we vaccinated 83,000 Jamaicans in every parish from every community across the country. So we do have the experience, we have the capacity, and we have organized ourselves to involve everyone. But it is still a challenge that will continue as we get more vaccines and as we try to convince persons who are still not convinced about taking the vaccines.
The bilateral arrangements to help get more vaccines in Jamaica?
Sure, and I think the query was specifically in respect of the U.S. and just to assure Dr. Parker that we have engaged bilaterally and through CARICOM. We've had meetings with Secretary of State Blinken as well as White House NSA Sullivan, where assurances were given that the region would be assisted with vaccines at a point in time. And I'm sure our diasporans in the US in particular would have taken note of the announcement that the Biden-Harris administration has agreed to release in the first instance a tranche of 25 million doses of vaccines to the world. And Jamaica will be part of Latin America and Caribbean region, where it is anticipated that by the end of this month, some distribution will have started. We have not yet had a confirmed quantity, but we continue to liaise as they work out the different formula that they use on guidance from CARFA and other, which of course has links with our local health infrastructure. taking into consideration not only our populations, but percentage populations and, of course, the rate of transmission which is taking place in various islands. So,
Listening there to the Minister of Foreign Affairs and Foreign Trade, Senator the Honorable Kamina Johnson-Smith, participating in this Jamaica Diaspora Day Town Hall meeting. And we should let you know that this slot reserved for Diaspora Check-in has been used to feature this town hall, to keep the town hall coverage going. And we thank our friends from Western Union for continuing to support Diaspora Check-in on both sides of the story.
You're listening to Power 106 FM. The time is now
4:45.
Que ahora en español son las 5 menos 14. Que la retire en français les 5 heures moins 14. Tiens, TDN le 是5点差14分. 14 minutes to 5 o'clock in the afternoon here at Broadcast House, 32 Lyndhurst Road, Kingston 5, St. Andrew, Jamaica. Good afternoon to all working Jamaicans tuned into both sides of the story here on Power 106 FM. It's a good time for us to ask ourselves, how productive have we been today? How productive have we been today? Let's resume our coverage of the Jamaica Diaspora Day Town Hall meeting.
Jamaica by 2030, and will the HOPE program be reestablished anytime soon to support NEET, N-E-E-T, young people? Not sure what NEET is, but we can explain.
Well, in terms of our renewables plan, our integrated resource plan would have identified opportunities within our energy mix that would be placed for competitive tender, specifically for renewables. And that would put us well within our target in terms of percentage of renewables in our energy mix in Jamaica. So yes, we continue to be on target. The HOPE program, which is our Housing Opportunity Production and Employment Program, which also stands for Helping Our People Excel, that program has been hit by the pandemic because particularly the youth employment element of it, because of the difficulty in gatherings and movement. But as soon as the restrictions allow, we will resume our operations, including those youngsters who would have been assisting in developing and assembling energy efficient solutions and renewable solutions, and will be helping communities to integrate renewable energy into their daily operations. That program will be reestablished.
Thank you, sir. Another one, will Jamaica consider CCTV and building a national criminal database to monitor and reduce crime?
Well, as I said earlier, there's a lot going on behind the scenes in our operations, including the development of cybersecurity capabilities, including surveillance through camera and other sensors, through the development of smart city technology and infrastructure. And so, yes, that is being built out. The Jamaica Eye, for example, is one example of that capacity. And the integration of all those smart technologies into our command and control center or command and control center strategically located around the island. All of that is presently being worked on. And citizens here would have seen the impact and the effect on policing of having closed circuit television and other sensors around urban areas in particular in the interdiction of criminals and generally just arresting crime.
Thank you so much, Prime Minister. I have another one for you. and this is for Minister Kamina Johnson-Smith, when the pandemic started, a lot of Jamaicans were stranded. What role did the Foreign Ministry play in assisting them? And what is the ministry now doing to support the diaspora, especially during COVID?
Well, certainly at the start of the pandemic, we not only had in some circumstances to reach out to the communities to support in terms of accommodation for persons who are stranded, food packages in particular locations. Assistance had to be given, financial assistance in some circumstances, and of course that had to be extreme circumstances as we're not generally funded for that type of activity. We ensured that by discussions and negotiations with colleague ministers of finance, for example, and reached out to banks and the Student Loan Bureau to ensure that loan payments that were interrupted because of their particular circumstances, that is whether inability to move, to make their actual payments, or other critical circumstances which were established and verified, that we were able to secure moratoria for them before it became a full policy of the government to establish moratoria for holders of student loans. We had to coordinate, as you know, the controlled reentry, especially at the circumstance where we had persons who were returning from hospitality work or farm work and were traveling in bulk in sort of large groups where flights were being canceled and uncertainty existed globally in terms of how to get from A to B. We not only negotiated arrangements through our missions and through communities in respect of housing and accommodation, but also transit and visa arrangements in order for them to make their way back home as soon as that was possible, not to mention extended stays because people were there beyond their visa, making sure that they would not be penalized as a result of their overstaying.
Thank you. Indeed. Thank you so much, Minister. 9 minutes to 5 p.m. Jamaica time. We have about 9 minutes left just for you, members of the diaspora. I have another question here from Maryland in the U.S. Asher Richards asks, Minister Tufton, on the Visit Jamaica website, it states that fully vaccinated visitors to Jamaica must quarantine for up to 8 days. Why is this? And what factors allow for a shorter quarantine time?
Right. So the Prime Minister earlier explained the difference between ourselves and the more developed countries like the US, where the vaccination numbers are still relatively low in Jamaica, approximately 8% or so. And because a fully vaccinated person can in fact still transmit the virus, even though they may have it and it may not have a major impact on them, they still can transmit it to someone else. When they come in, we want to ensure that not only are they tested, but there is a minimum time of restriction that would minimize the risk, if they have the virus, minimize the risk of them transmitting it to our population. When do we adjust that? We adjust based on risk profiling, and a big part of that risk management will be to increase the numbers in our country, those that are vaccinated. And I think we are working very diligently at getting there.
All right. By the way, there are some who are in the chat, especially on YouTube, I believe, who are saying, well, why not 3 days? And why 8 days? Why 14 days? Just the mechanism in terms of really reaching
the clinicians are the ones that provide the advice on the period of time that it takes for the virus to manifest itself. And, there is a standard 14-day that is put out by the World Health Organization for the period of time when the virus would have the most impact and you can detect it. In a sense, it is a management of the risk. We have come to a compromise with the 8 days, which is approximately half of the 14-day period. Still represents a risk, but it will be less of a risk than allowing a 3-day or none at all.
Minister. A question we haven't, an area we haven't covered, I should say. Dr. Karen Dunkley is asking, we hear a lot about individuals regarding information about individuals with disabilities and special needs. When can we anticipate the full implementation of the Disabilities Act? And this is from Jamaica Diaspora Northeast USA rep. Hello, Doc. How are you?
I know that it's, I unfortunately don't have the exact plan of the Ministry of Labor and Social Security, which is charged with implementation of this act. But I know that they are finalizing the regulations, which is the last stage in allowing for its implementation. And I know that it is planned for this year.
Thank you so much, Minister. Prime Minister, a question on agriculture. What are the moves afoot to deal with ensuring that the agriculture sector helps with the robust recovery of the economy?
Firstly, the agriculture sector has shown great resilience in Jamaica. Aside from being hit by the pandemic, we were hit by 2 tropical storms, which delivered heavy rains, which destroyed crops right across Jamaica. But the sector has rebounded with the support of the government through various programs and outreach. The government continues to support the sector and to invest in the sector, but we have to do 2 critical things. The first is to increase the linkage between agriculture and tourism, a linkage which is a link which is there, but which should be intensified. And as the tourism industry recovers, a greater effort will be made to ensure that more of the supplies to the industry comes from our local agriculture. The second thing that we have to do, and which we are doing, is to focus on industrial agriculture. That means we have to introduce greater technology into agriculture. But what we have not really done in the past, which is to introduce greater capital financing into agriculture, to bring our agriculture to scale, to bring the large swaths of unused agricultural lands back into production. We're seeing far more financial interests being taken in the agricultural sector, and that speaks well to its future. There is one agro-industrial complex, which we just approved lands for that to happen in the Bernard Lodge area, and already that entrepreneur has started. And then there is another massive project that was done by Jamaican Michael Lee Chin in the Innswood area, and that project continues to produce.
And that's where we'll have to leave our coverage of the Jamaica Diaspora Day activities for today, ending our presentation there with the Prime Minister responding to a question about the role of agriculture in Jamaica's economic recovery. Can we thank you once again for the privilege of serving you on yet another edition of your program, Both Sides of the Story, for today, Diaspora Day, Wednesday, the 16th of June, 2021. All things being well, Both Sides of the Story returns tomorrow afternoon, 2 to 5. Till then, this is Dervan Malcolm reminding all of us that every day is an opportunity to do better than yesterday. Do continue to enjoy Jamaica Diaspora Day.
Diaspora Check-In during Both Sides of the Story was brought to you by GK Western Union. Receive money directly into your bank account today.
I pledge my heart with silence as long as it shall live. My word, my strength, my love, and my loyalty to give. Oh, free, I love the Indies, Jamaica strong and free. loyalty to give. Oh, green and lovely evenings, Jamaica strong and free. All bounds and loyal promises, loyalties to
You're listening to Power 106 FM. The time is now
5 o'clock.
News, comprehensive, powerful, and credible.
Power 106 FM now presents a simulcast of Radio Jamaica's News at 5.
Good afternoon. I am Dervan Gordon. Coming up in the news segment of Beyond the Headlines today, Wednesday, June 16, 2021. Transport Authority says Uber operators must have a public passenger vehicle license to provide service in Jamaica. St. James-based pastor accused of raping a 15-year-old girl remanded. Manchester police reporting an increase in illegal events, including parties, since easing of COVID-19 restrictions. World Health Organization warns Caribbean countries they cannot open their economies without having access to COVID-19 vaccines. In business news, gas prices going up tomorrow. The discussion segment of Beyond the Headlines with Dion Jackson Miller comes up after this newscast. The news segment of Beyond the Headlines is